evening, everyone. I'm Nina Hawk. I'm the CEO of Tony Roma's. How many of you know Tony Roma's or remember Tony Roma's in the audience? Raise your hand. Great. I love that show of hands. And I would like to see more. And that's what we're working on. So for Tony Roma's, as you all probably know, we have been around for more than 50 years. This is our 52nd year. And this brand has been through, it has seen its highs, it has seen its lows, but it's still around and it's doing great. And I like to put that up front because the experience that you have from running this brand, it's amazing, especially in the post-pandemic world. So let me give you a little bit of history. Back in 2021, a private equity investor company purchased this brand, and I am, by profession, an attorney. It was a client of my law firm who purchased the brand, and he's a foreign investor, got extremely interested in a master franchisee in South Asia. Once he took over, now we're focusing on our coming back story. With that being said, today I was with the Tony Roma's in Vegas, and our franchisee told us, Nina, it's great you're going to pitch in front of NFL players because we get lines in front of the restaurant who says, hey, is this all by Tony Romo's? It's not. It just happens to be a coincidence. Now, how can I make that coincidental connection to actual connection? Hence, I'm here for NFL players who might be interested in Tony Roma's. So with that being said, we have about 11 locations currently in the United States, over 60 locations globally. We have locations in Germany, in Dubai, in Japan. Our location in Japan has been around since the 1970s. Typically, the franchisees who come into the system, they stay for a very long period of time. And that is something great because recently the trend is people try to exit after 5 to 10 years. We have multiple locations in Malaysia, in Canada, in Indonesia, and we're looking to grow both globally and domestically. One of the main things that we always hear, please bring back Tony Roma's. There is still a lot of demand where people want to see Tony Roma's. We're going to open in Kimball, Tennessee this year, which is a small community in Tennessee, but people are looking forward to celebrating special occasions in that location. And now for Tony Roma's 2.0, which is what I like to call Tony Roma's Rebirth, or Tony Roma's Renaissance. Our main goal is to focus on operation, because you want to make sure when you are buying a franchise, whichever franchise it is, it's a business plan that's presented to you. That's a touchdown for success, and that is our goal when it comes to Tony Roma's. And we have another concept that's called Bones and Burgers, and we launched that in 2022. The build-out cost for Bones and Burgers is a much lower. It's a fast casual concept, and you can probably build that in concession stands, in movie theaters, in malls, in college campuses. Our franchise requirement is on the lower end. It's a competitive rate. We do have a solid history of restaurant and hospitality, and we don't necessarily need anyone who has an experience in hospitality, but we would make sure if you don't have that experience, we train you. We send our operators to train on-site in the location, wherever in the world that is. So most of the time, franchisees don't need to visit us. We go and we train. And because of We Franch, it's a special promotion we are doing right now. We're offering 25% off a franchise fee for single unit franchises and 35% off a franchise fee for multi-unit. And this offer is valid until July 4th. So with that being said, any questions from the judges about Tony Roma's?
The Bones and Burgers concept, how do you differentiate what's separating you from the burger shops that you see cropping up everywhere?
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. So the way we differentiate is we sell both ribs and burger. We have a proprietary grill that can actually make the ribs under 5 minutes. So typically when people crave ribs, they think about going into a restaurant, sitting down and having ribs. But at Bones and Burgers, you can get ribs on the go. At the same time, we have a great selection of burgers.
Are you allowed to talk about like cause
This is, something that if anyone's interested, you'll definitely provide the franchise disclosure document, but if you have any questions, like, that's 2,000 feet above, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, and if anyone within the audience wants to ask a question, let me know and I'll come with the mic.
I have a question.
So we'll take that one.
How you doing? Name is Sylvester Miller. I had a question. You said, going back to your sheet, it was saying 1 million liquid with 3 million net worth. I guess the question, as we always talk about with franchise, like, what are you doing around like young franchisees, especially diversity, equity, inclusion, and people that can't generate that type of net worth and everything? Are you able to come in as a group, or is it single franchise, or it does have to have that to be able to walk into Tony Roma's franchise?
So that's actually a great question. One of the things that we are trying to look into is, we're here for franchising, but a relationship could be entered through other legal modes as well, which is something that we're looking into, is being an operating partner, where we as a corporate also put down some money, have some equity, and the franchisee, if it's like difficult for them to meet this requirement, we would be accommodating. But right now, since we are in the growth stage and we want to grow, so if it's not a franchise agreement, it could be operating partner that we can consider.
I have kind of a threefold question. The first is, if someone's looking more for passive income, what are your thoughts on franchising? And is it more passive income, or is it more just when you sell, or if you eventually sell? And then how many hours a week? I mean, is it something that my always fear about franchising is finding people that you trust to work for you, so you don't have to do all the work. And I guess you hit a certain age like me, and you don't want to work as hard as you did when you were younger. So those three questions.
Okay, great. So when it comes to franchising, especially a restaurant, one of the reasons, we ask that someone have that experience is we want to make sure the operators are coming into the system because they are coming into our brand and they can operate it. So if they have the experience, or if they can hire employees, I would piggyback to what Dave was saying earlier, that if you have great employees and who can carry this, then that's great. But in terms of whether it could be a passive income, that is something I would leave up to your operation. It is a very active role when it comes to franchising because you are operating under a trademark of another brand. There are lots of rules and regulations that you need to comply with, and manuals, and that's where the support is everything. One of the pressing question is, what type of support will I get from a franchise? So that franchisees are not left alone, because if they're running the brand, they need to get that adequate support. So to answer your question, whether it could be considered as a passive income, it depends on multiple factors.